what's up guys, Houston here, and for those of you just finding my YouTube channel, welcome. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell. Now today we're in my backyard, and as you can see, I'm sitting in the midst of all of this mint, okay? And I'm gonna tell you guys this. I did not know that this stuff will take over your yard. Oh my God. And we pulled this stuff up from the roots, and it still keeps coming up. As you can see, it's all over here, right? So we're in the process, again, it's spring, so we're in the process of getting our garden together and everything. And so here's the thing about it, like these green onions here, then we're gonna have some squash and some tomatoes and everything. But I wanted to actually talk to you all about how to buy land with a business credit card. And the reason that I'm talking about buying land, especially with a business credit card, because what's just happened. A lot of you all are familiar with Bill Gates, the Microsoft guy, right? Well, here's the thing about it. He's starting to buy up a lot of farmland, okay? And so in terms of him buying up a lot of farmland, I don't know what's up, but at the same time, that gives you a clue that, hey, maybe I should look at trying to buy some farmland. Now, the reason that I'm telling you that you should buy it with a business credit card under your business bank account is because you want that as an asset on the company. Now, later on, I'm gonna actually tell you how we actually, well, one of my associates, he actually took the mineral rights to a property away from the banks. As a matter of fact, he took 3 houses and the mineral rights away from a bank. All right, so I'm going to tell you how he did that. So just stick with me. Now, in terms of I also explained to you all, if you're trying to get some land and you don't have the money, there is a way to actually get some free land. So we're going to talk about that as well. All right. But here's what I want to explain to you all, why you want to start buying land with a business credit card. Okay. Now, so here's the thing about it. First, you have to set the company up as a business, okay? And if you don't know how to set the company up as a business, you can click the link in the description and reach out to Three-Way Funding for a consultation, and we can actually set the company up for you, okay? But once you set the corporation up, all right, now the next thing you want to do is open up a business bank account, all right? Now, many of you think that you have to have a lot of money to actually buy land, and that's not true, because I'm going to give you some places where you can actually buy land for very cheap, okay? So just stick with me. But here's the thing about it. Now, let's understand this. Once you set up the business, you open up the business bank account, and you get yourself a business credit card. Now, if you have bad credit, what you could do, you could get a business credit card through Wells Fargo. It's a secured business credit card, okay? And Bentito, I think I'm saying that correctly. But get the one through Wells Fargo, a secured business credit card through Wells Fargo, and put your money on it and then purchase your land, all right? Now, here's the thing about it. Now, people wonder, well, will this Wells Fargo secured credit card help me, business secured credit card help me build my business credit? Well, not directly, all right? Here's the thing about it. Wells Fargo does not report to Dun & Bradstreet. That's what most people are looking for, to see if Wells Fargo reports to Dun & Bradstreet. And the reality is no. Okay, and so I'm going to actually be making more of a video going into details about that and actually explaining to you in terms of who reports to who on the business credit side. So stick with me on that. I'm going to make that video as well. Now, understanding that, okay, so say that you have bad credit, but you set up the business, you got a secured business credit card, and say that you maybe had like $1,000 on the card or something like that, okay? Now, stick with me, because I'm telling you, not only am I going to tell you about buying land, but it's actually a strategy to help make the company bigger, all right? And this is the reason that you actually want to buy the land to try to make it an asset under the company. All right. Now, here's something that you really must understand. There's like tons of things that you can be asking about the land, but here's the top 5, okay? And this is very important because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna buy some land and I'm gonna do this, but pump your brakes, because again, people are not explaining this to you. There's people out there that are expert realtors and stuff, you know, that would tell you, but for a lot of people, they say, oh, just go buy some land or whatever. You do not want to do that. And here's 5 reasons why you don't want to do that. The first one is a conservative easement. All right. Remember that term, conservative easement. Now, the reason that I'm telling you this, because like here in California, we have these Joshua trees, right? And so with Joshua trees, you cannot cut those trees down unless you're going to actually relocate those trees. You have to have a place to relocate those trees. For every tree that you cut down, they're going to fine you. All right. So in terms of somebody selling you some land and it may have some natural resources on it that are protected, you can't do anything with that land. You can't develop that land. You cannot hunt on that land. It's like you just bought yourself another headache because you can't do anything with it. You can't even plan on it. That's how bad it is. So when somebody says, hey, I got some land for sale, you gotta ask them, is there a conservative easement on it? Because if they don't tell you that and you buy that land, guess what? You just bought their problem, okay? And in terms of you trying to get that land developed, you're gonna catch hell doing it. So that's the reason. Number one reason, whenever you're looking to buy land, you want to ask them, is there any conservative easement on it? Okay? So that's number 1. Also, number 2, what is the taxes on the land? All right? Now, the reason you want to know that, because say that the land may have an old vacant building on it, that's a burned down building and stuff like that on it, okay? It may have an old vacant building on it. Well, here's the thing about it. Now, because it already has a structure on it, now you may get bigger tax breaks. So that's what, because it's already land in use. So that means that you may have opportunity to get bigger tax breaks, okay? So that's the reason that you want to know that. So that's the second thing, okay? Number 3, you want to know about, is there any tax liens? Okay? Now here's the thing about it. This is very important because people will sell a piece of land, all right? And I used to work for the government, right? So let me share something with you. So I work for the government, and so a division of our a division that I was working with, like if people had like medical bills or something like that, but they didn't pay the medical bills, then the government would put a lien on their property. So they cannot sell their property unless the government gets paid first. So they sell the property, then the governments get paid, and then whatever's left, right? But what they would do, they would have somebody to create a title saying that it's clear title, no liens on it, and then they would sell them the property. So when they try to actually re-register the property in their name, guess what? They can't. They owe the taxes on it. All right? So that's the reason why you want to be very careful when people are trying to sell you land, because you want to know, hey, is there any back taxes loan? Or is it tied up in probate? Because people will sell you land that they inherited or whatever that's been tied up in probate. Well, I don't want to do it. As a matter of fact, we got family members like that. They have property, okay? They have property that they're renting out to a farmer, okay? But one of the people that own the property with them, okay, they actually want to sell their shares. They cannot sell their shares, They can't sell their shares, okay? The only way that they can get rid of this property is if they're the only one that's living. The last living is the one that has the right to just sell the property off. But while you're tied up in it, you cannot sell your position of the property. And they've been going back and forth in the courts with this for years, and this person still hasn't been able to sell their property. So you have to be careful dealing with people when they're talking about selling you land, okay? Now, here's something that you also have to remember. What rights and titles, there's Chuck, everybody say hello to Chuck. He's crowing again. I guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere. He wants to be on camera. He's usually out here with me. There's his partner too. But back to what I was saying. Now, in terms of land, right? Here's the thing about it. You want to know what are the rights and titles, okay, included, all right? So what that means is there road access, all right? Because there may be your land, right? But somebody else may own the road. And because they own the road, then you may have to pay them a fee to actually utilize that road. So you have to also be careful of that. This is stuff that people don't tell you when buying land. What are your rights? Not only that, the mineral rights on the land. They may sell you the rights, okay? Yeah, you own the land, but do you own the mineral rights? And what that means is what's in the ground. So if there's diamonds in the ground, you do not, and the court said, hey, they own the mineral rights. You own the land, but they own the mineral rights to the land. So that means that if you discover there's diamonds on that ground, you cannot dig those diamonds up or that all up and sell it to somebody because you don't own the mineral rights. Somebody else is entitled to the mineral rights. So you want to make sure it's clear that when you own this land, you also own the mineral rights, right? Also, in terms of development, what can I actually do with the land? That's also very important. What can I do with this land? Can I put a multifamily on it? Can I build a gas station on it? Can I farm on it? What are the restrictions that's keeping me from developing this land the way I want to develop it? Okay. Also, I'm going to tell you actually what's happening and why, again, you may want to seriously think about buying land. So just stick with me. All right. So I appreciate you hanging out with me too. But now, here's number 5 of this, all right? Do you have access to utilities, electric, Wi-Fi, a well, or do you have to build your own well? Uh-oh, sorry about that, guys. It's a windy day. But at the same time, getting back to what I was saying. Now, do you have access to electricity? Phone lines? Do you have access to Wi-Fi? Or do you have a well? Okay, so that's also you have to consider. If you have to dig your own well, what it's going to cost you? You buy the land cheap, but yeah, you have to build a well. Okay, you need electricity. Okay, can I use the electricity poles on this side of the street? Or do I have to buy my own? This is stuff that, again, when buying land, especially using business credit cards and talking about investing for assets to grow your business, these are things that you really have to understand. All right. So this is very important because a lot of people, like I said, there's nothing wrong with buying a land and creating your own compound. Okay. But you do need to know what are your legal rights to actually investing into that land, what you can do, what you can't do, okay? Because sometimes, like I watch those cult movies and stuff like that sometimes, and come to find out, the government find ways around to where they violate and then they come in and take their land. So you have to be very careful in terms of what it is that you can actually do with the land. Now, let's talk about some places where you can possibly buy land from, and then I'm going to tell you a strategy that you maybe can use to get some free land, okay? So If you want to buy land, you may want to go to land.com, okay, which is a very good place. Now, bid for assets. A lot of people have heard me talk about bid for assets. And the reason that I always talk about bid for assets, because it's the government that's selling the land. That's right. When the government sells the land, the government is mainly selling the land because they just want to pay their taxes on the property or whatever. Because they know they sell the land cheap, the people pay to buy the land, they pay the taxes up and everything, then they're still going to continue to tax them anyway. Okay? So that's the reason that I tell you to go to bid for assets, because you can buy land, an acre of land, for less than $500. You know, some places you can buy an acre of land for a couple $100s. And so they do have, each state, they do have like their tax lien sales and stuff like that, where you can buy land with structures on them and stuff like that, and you can get a pretty good deal as well. So bid for assets, I think, is like my #1 pick when it comes to talking about investing in land. Now, here's something that a lot of people look over, is looking for your local probation lawyer, okay? Excuse me, your probate lawyer, not probation, your probate lawyer, okay? Because they're dealing with families that have land tied up and stuff, and sometimes it's been tied up for so long, the people just want to get rid of it, right? And because they want to get rid of it, they may be willing to sell it for real cheap. Or you may have other friends and relatives that have land. They don't have the money to do nothing with it and stuff like that, but they could use the money versus the land, because they can't develop the land because they don't have money, right? So you can get it from them real cheap. Now, I'm going to tell you something, that in terms of when you're buying land, all right, the reason you want to consider buying land, because you know the stimulus bill that President Biden is right now, he's trying to push the infrastructure bill, okay? Well, a lot of these energy companies, because the president is pushing toward solar and wind, alternative energy and stuff like that, right? Well, a lot of these big companies, they're starting to reach out to people, and they're starting to want to rent their land, right? So they can put these solar farms on, or wind farms and stuff like that on it, and they pay you a monthly check for renting out that land. Now, here's something else in the agriculture industry as well, like Tyson's Food. There's other type of companies as well. What they're doing is they're approaching people and saying, hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars if you let us raise poultry on your property and stuff like that, right? So they're actually paying people to allow them to grow. And like I said, with my family, they have a farmer that's actually pays them all the time, every month and everything. Plus, when he sells the crop, he sends them a check as well. And the thing about it, like when he grows his, I guess, corn, tobacco, or whatever he's growing or whatever, like I said, they're getting paid for them. And they don't have to maintain the land. They don't have to do these type of things, right? But they're just getting a check every month. So that's the reason that you want to, if you're talking about residual income, making sure that you're buying land, make sure you're buying it in the right place, and making sure you ask yourself those 5 questions. And there's other things that you'll have to go through, but those are the top 5 things you want to know. So guys, now let's get into what I told you all at the beginning of the video. I told you I was going to tell you about how one of my colleagues, he ended up taking 3 houses and the mineral rights to some land away from the banks, okay? And here's the situation, right? So most people know, like in 2008 and stuff like that, when the housing bubble and stuff like that was going crazy or whatever, what banks was doing, they was taking your mortgage loan, they was wrapping it up, and they was selling it off to other investors and stuff. Here's the problem, all right? I want you to understand this here problem, okay? Once they sell that mortgage-backed security, okay, with all these other loans, they no longer have the right to it. They no longer have the right to it, okay? So what does that mean? That means that technically they cannot force you out of your home. They cannot force you to pay the mortgage because they cannot prove that they're actually the owner. They're the servicer. Like right now, what's going on, and we're going to see this happen over the next 9 months. This is actually why the CFPB and the FHA is starting to crack down on banks and stuff like that, because they're starting to do the same thing. Okay, people that are behind on their mortgages, they're giving them a hard time with the foreclosures. They're giving them the hard time with the forbearance. Like, people know that they can't make their payments. Instead of them saying, and they call in and say, hey, I need a forbearance. If they have a federal backed loan, they automatically, they're supposed to get them up to 365 days, almost a whole year. Okay, excuse me, it's like 362 days or 360 days, something like that. It's almost like a whole year. And then they extended it, right? But here's the thing about it. A lot of mortgage servicers and stuff like that, which is the banks, they're making it hard because they're not getting any profits from it, right? So they're like, wait a minute, we're not making any money off of this. Why are we servicing this? Now the Fed's already told them that they will pay for them to still service the loan. But at the same time, the banks don't want to give people these forbearances, okay, that they are entitled to if they have a government-backed loan. Now, here's the situation, all right? So, my friend, he goes to court, and the judge says, well, who owns the property? And so my friend says, well, technically, I own the property. So the bank's like, no, we own the property. So the judge said, prove that you own the property. Okay? The banks could not prove that they actually owned the property because technically they didn't. They sold the rights to the property. They don't have title to the property. So they cannot claim title on something they do not own. And so the judge, with a couple of the properties, said, well, you all can't touch these because you can't even show the title to the property. Now, here's the thing about it. He cannot, like, get insurance on a property and stuff like that. He can't because the title's not in his name either. But one of the things that he has been doing that the banks can't do anything about, he's actually been renting these properties out, making money off of them still. Okay? So he's been doing this for over 10 years, just making free money off of properties that he took from the bank. Now, in terms of land and mineral rights, now one of the properties was going back and forth too. The judge said, okay, this is what I'll do. You all can have the house, but he owns the land and the mineral rights. So the judge actually, excuse me guys, so the judge actually split it up. Okay, he owns the land and the mineral rights. You own the dwelling. So that means that, yeah, they own the dwelling, but they can't sell the dwelling because he owns the land. So the only thing that they can do is just let it sit there until they walk away. Because my associate, he ain't walking away. Why would you walk away from tens of thousands of dollars of free rent that you don't have to pay a mortgage on? And so that's what he did. Now, in terms of, for those of you are still that are limited on funds and stuff like that, there is a way for you to actually to get free land, especially like in the inner cities and stuff like that. You can go down to your county or city recorder's office. They have land and stuff, and say that you actually been taking care of that land. Okay, Nobody claimed that land, nobody paid the taxes, but you paid the taxes on the land, you cleaned the land and everything. After a certain amount of years, then you can be awarded title to that land. Okay, I can't think of the technical term for it right now, but you actually can inherit that land, right? So you can actually get free land. Even the government has free land. If you have the means to actually take care of the land, okay, then the government will give you free land. So you may have to reach out to, again, like your state and local governments to see who has land that you can probably take over. But at the same time, remember what I told you. Make sure that the land that you get, and this is number one. If you don't remember nothing else about this conversation, you